Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Vicarage here at Penn on this beautiful sunny Friday morning. I hope you're well and cheerful. So glad you could join us today. May I remind you, church is open this weekend, physically and online, and we would absolutely love to see you. Just to reassure you, like I did the other day, we are coming out of lockdown very carefully and very slowly. Please do bring your masks on Sunday. We will be singing, but we will also be wearing masks as well. It's about looking after each other and making sure that church continues to be a safe and a comfortable place to be. So please come on Sunday. We'd love to see you. Please do continue to wear your masks and we can sing together, which is going to be fantastic. But whether you can join us online or physically, you'd be very, very welcome and good to see you, and everyone's welcome with us, and we'd be a better congregation with you in it. Even physically or online, we'd love to see you. You get the picture. We start a new book today. We're looking at the book of James. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, it's a book I've always struggled with, really, largely because of chapter 2. You'll hear more about that on Tuesday, Wednesday next week. It's not a book I find very easy, but nonetheless, we're going to enjoy it, and God's going to be good, and we're going to learn from. I've learned lots from it already. So without further ado, it's the letter of James, chapter 1, reading verses 1 to 11. Here goes. James writes, James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes in the dispersion, greetings. My brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. If any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given you. But ask in faith, never doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For the doubter, being double-minded and unstable in every way, must not expect to receive anything from the Lord. But let the believer, who is lowly, boast about in being raised up, and the rich in being brought low, because the rich will disappear like a flower in the field. For the sun rises with its scorching heat and withers the field, its flower falls and its beauty perishes. In the same way with the rich, in the midst of a busy life, they will wither away. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, my friends, there are a few things we could bring out of this. It's a great reading. First question to ask is, who is James? Who was it that wrote this book? Well, we're not entirely sure. There are 3 or 4 Jameses in the New Testament. There's James, the disciple. There's James, the brother of Jesus, and a couple more Jameses. It could have been somebody else called James who doesn't appear in the New Testament. It could have been some other person who wasn't called James and used James as a pseudonym. We don't know. Having said that, the most interesting thought, the most common thought, is that the James that wrote this is actually the half-brother of Jesus. That Jesus had, after Mary had Jesus, that she had a couple of 2 or 3 other children, one of whom was called James. And it's a long thought that it could be that James. At this point, my Roman Catholic brothers and sisters jump up and down and say, Mary didn't have any more children. He must have been Jesus' cousin. I don't know. But anyway, the most likely James is that it was James, the brother stroke cousin of Jesus. That he's the one that wrote the book. Now, we don't know. But actually, considering most theologians think it probably is him, if it is, I think that's really fascinating. I think that's really lovely. The idea that Jesus' brother might actually have been one of his disciples. And I think for this reason, really, we can all look tremendously holy in public. We can all put our best bib and tucker on Sunday. We can all put on our best smile and look tremendously holy and godly to the outside world. But our families know what we're really like, especially our people that we're brought up with, if you know what I mean. They kind of know what we're really like because they remember the times. And the idea that Jesus' brother might have been one of his disciples is absolutely incredible. It shows that Jesus really was the real deal. Because otherwise, any thought that Jesus might have been sinless, for example, James could have said, you should have seen the way he treated his first girlfriend, or he was a shocker at school, or I remember the time when, da-da-da-da-da. But actually here, James, the writer, talks about the Lord, the King, Jesus Christ. And I think there's really something very lovely and very special in the idea that one of Jesus' brothers might have been one of his disciples and actually wrote about him and so on. I think that's absolutely fantastic because it demonstrates that Jesus was the real deal. Not just in public, not just when the authorities are watching, not just when the gospel writers were in attendance, but actually Jesus was the real deal all along. And Actually, I think we should be too. I think actually our Christian faith should be something which permeates the whole of our lives. I may have told you before, I remember a lovely story about a lady. She was former vicar's wife at Penfields, and she joined our congregation, then she passed away 4.5 years ago. And someone said at her funeral, she was the same all the time. She was the same whether she was in church, whether she was by the breakfast table, she was the same all the time. And I just thought, what a lovely, lovely thing that is. And actually here in our reading this morning, isn't it amazing that one of Jesus's brothers, the people that will have known what he was really like, when no one was looking, when he was in those days when they were kids or whatever, the fact that even he thinks he's the Lord Jesus Christ, the fact that he writes and becomes one of his disciples, I think that's incredibly special. So that's the first thing. So it says, wow, Jesus, brilliant all the time. I think that's great. Second thing is he talks about suffering. Now he talks about considering all things to be all joy. And that's quite a fascinating phrase, because the idea of getting joy out of suffering is a bit of an odd one. It doesn't kind of read well to us, because no one in reality enjoys suffering. I mean, we just don't, do we? But I think what James says, and actually Paul says it also in Romans chapter 5, and Peter says it in his books as well, is that the good side about suffering is that it does produce endurance and character, and what's really referred to as perseverance, kind of endurance. There's no question that the experiences that we go through in our Christian life do set us up for the rest of our Christian life. The more we go through in Jesus, the more experiences we have with him, the more troubles and trials and tribulations we go through with him. In a sense, it makes us stronger. And not only does it make us stronger, it also makes us a bit less flappable as well. That, if you go through an experience in a Christian life and go through some difficulties, when you experience it again, you can kind of say you've been through it before. And there is a sense in which the experiences we have in life and the trials and tribulations that we go through unquestionably do make us stronger and do give us endurance and build up perseverance and character and do build faith in our lives. The more experiences we've been through with God, the stronger and less flappable our faith becomes. So he says here, consider it to be all joy. That's strong words. But I think we can see that the experiences we go through in life, even the tough ones, can strengthen us in our Christian faith. But the other thing I want to say is about prayer. And he talks here about not being double-minded, about praying in faith, about not being double-minded, not being flappy, basically, in our prayers. And I think there's something we need to learn from here, because I do believe, and I'm saying all this against myself as much as anybody else, I do believe that we're very kind of wishy-washy with our prayers, actually. I think we often hedge our bets by saying bless and bless so and so. I mean, what does that mean? And I think we often sort of hedge our bets and put a bit too much kind of your will be done on there, and almost it can always be sometimes a bit of a cop out sometimes. I think we should pray, and we should pray single-mindedly. If we really want something to happen, if we really want to bring something before God, then we should pray, and we should pray single-mindedly. We should pray as if our life depends on it. And actually, there are examples in the Bible where people have sought God, but they've prayed hard, and they've prayed, and they've prayed, and they've really gone for it. And I think we should pray like our life depends on it. There's a character in the Bible called Jacob. And it's interesting, Jacob, because Jacob and James are actually the same name. Jacob in the Old Testament, I mean, he wasn't a very nice guy, really. He was a cheat and lots of things. But you know something, when he wanted something, he went for it. And there's a wonderful story about the time when Jacob wrestled with God overnight. And he just wrestled. And his words were, I won't let go until you bless me. He wasn't going to let go. He prayed and prayed, and nothing was going to stand in his way. He prayed like his life depended on it. And I do believe, actually, we should be more passionate in our prayers. We should be more single-mindedly. And we should pray, as I say, like our life depends on it. We should pray and really go for it, really be single-minded. If we really want to bring something before God, we should pray and pray and pray and really go for it. And nothing should distract us, get us in the way. We should we should take off some of the cop-outs and all the kind of wishy-washes. And I think we should really go for it with God. That we should pray single-mindedly, as I say. And really, like Jacob in the Old Testament, so I won't let go until you bless me. So if we want wisdom, like he says in the book of James this morning, we should pray, and nothing should stand in the way of that. So I think this is a call for earnestness and a single-mindedness in prayer, that we should really go for it and really, go for it with God. and let nothing diffuse us or stand in the way. So, this new book this morning, 3 things I mentioned this morning. Firstly, isn't it special that even one of Jesus' brothers thought he was the real deal, followed him and called him the Lord Jesus Christ? I think that's absolutely fantastic. Secondly, unquestionably, are the trials and tribulations experiences that we go through in life. I'm not undermining the pain of them at all, but unquestionably, they do make us, the more we go through, the stronger our faith becomes, and it makes us less flappable, and it makes us more steady and stronger in our faith. But finally, to say also that, finally, I forgot what it was. Yeah, in our prayers, we need to be single-minded. We need to go for it, and we need to be not doubt, not tossed around, but go for it and really be single and really pray like our life depends on it. 3 thoughts, more on Monday. God bless you. Have a lovely weekend. Don't forget, if you're coming to church on Sunday, on Saturday, do please bring your mask. Let's be safe.